What's the moment you realized a friend of yours was a huge piece of crap? When my house and business burned, only one friend of mine came around to help out. Everyone just disappeared until my insurance check came. Then people started coming around again. By then I knew who my one true friend really was. Most people don't figure out until it's far too late that their real friends can usually be counted on one hand. I need to leave out a bit of detail because I don't want to risk anyone figuring out who this is in reference to in case they are actual users of this site. Last year I got divorced and because of that I started reconnecting with old friends. I went to my friend's house and we were talking and I asked how his brothers were doing. He informed me that his one brother had started dating a girl I knew from high school. We were absolute best friends, the girl and I, in HS. He said that it was causing a huge rift in the family because she was causing all kinds of problems with him. Fast forward to just this past week and I reconnect with said girl. As I said, this girl and I were best friends in high school, so we quickly picked right up from where we had left off, and through our conversations she was telling me about how the guy she was dating, who I was also great friends with, was actually off his freaking rockers and both mentally and physically abusive. Hearing her side of it brought a lot of other stuff I had heard over the years into the light as truth. But what really sealed the deal was her video evidence of him physically assaulting her and talking about how he wanted her to call the cops because he wanted them to kill him. So yeah, I found out that someone I considered to be a good friend was truly a piece of crap with severe mental issues that he refuses to get help for. And his family is in such crap denial that they blame her for causing the problems. He told our friend that their mom's death from cancer was karma against them for calling him out on his bulls on a public Facebook post. I never spoke to him again. Not only an butthole, but petty as frick too. When he told me he really needed some money because he was out of a job at the time, I lent him $40 only to find out that he used that as admission to a vape contest. He lost. It was a vape contest. Everyone lost. When he in passing casually talked about how he had hit a cyclist with his car and just drove off. After further questioning, it was confirmed that it was not soft contact and the cyclist went down hard. That's fricked up. She started ignoring me and hanging out with our friends without me, posting crap all over social media with them, all while I was in a depressive state dealing with my dad's terminal cancer. She was fully aware of how hard of a time it was for me. She took advantage of the situation and manipulated all my friends. My dad passed away a few months later and she didn't even show up for support at his funeral, not even a text. We were best friends for 17 years, hung out on a daily basis, and the only person who I could trust with my life. I have no idea what made her spark like that. My other friends did show up to the funeral, which was nice, but yeah, she is a huge piece of crap. When my boss called him to ask him why he hadn't been to work in a week, and he blamed me, I was in on the conference call at the time. When she was bragging about being so clever and manipulative by waiting until after a work friend helped her with something to just ghost them. Also, bragging about not getting involved in work drama that she single-handedly created by telling co-workers each other's secrets and trapping them in lies. She is bragging about all of this to me, and as she's talking I'm realizing that I haven't been unreasonable or crazy in our friendship. This is the exact crap she's done to me in the past. So much for being clever. Chronic drama starters are like serial killers. They get caught because they need attention. I let her stay at my house when my son was very young. I was a single mom. I told her no men, no drugs. I have a little kid. That obviously didn't work, because I woke up 2 days later to a scummy looking guy in his underwear going through my refrigerator. And then it was a different guy after that, and a different guy. If you wanna sleep around, cool. Just don't bring people who are strangers to me into my house to scope the place and potentially endanger my kid. Then the drug use started. I told you no drugs, it's just weed, she says. I'm like, hey, I would like to sit around and smoke weed, but not at my house around my kid. Then it was just pain pills. Then it was I'm at the hospital because I overdosed on a speedball. He sold our other friend's car while he was away, but the dude who had his car stolen still had his title, so he got the car back. Not a close friend but a guy in our circle of friends. Too much stuff ended up missing. Not big stuff, just little things like tools or knickknacks. One day he lost his job. He said it was just a slowdown in business. About a month later I ran into a former coworker of his. It turns out the place my friend used to work instead of vending machines had some trays of chips and candy snack that worked by the honor system. You put some money in a box and took whatever snack you wanted. Not only did the company give warnings about shortages from the trays, but someone saw him taking the money from the payment box. A lot more stuff made sense after that. I run gaming tournaments and I helped a guy start up his own league in the next city over. I was an official in his league, helped get the word out and brought food to share each league night. Things were great for a couple seasons. The league took off and was a huge success. After that, he turned into an butthole. He started scheduling his league right on top of mine, even though we shared a lot of players because we were located fairly close together. I tried to reason with him and he wouldn't budge, and took it as me dictating to him when he was allowed to run his league nights. Even his own players agreed he was being douchy. So I told him, it would never even occur to me to schedule an event on top of yours because I respect the time and effort we both put into this. No friend of mine would do that to me. Do what you're going to do, and I hope the loss of our friendship was worth it. When she made plans with me to an amusement park for a girls' day out, and when I showed up at her house that morning I learned she'd left a few hours earlier to go away for the weekend with my boyfriend. Whoa. Me and what I thought was my best friend had been planning my birthday for weeks, which was a few days ago, the 5th of August. What to do, making plans etc, and finally decided on what we were going to do. I recently got a good job and actually had money to spend for once on my birthday. Then the day before my birthday comes, we plan to be drinking when it turns midnight. I text her asking what time she's meeting me. I get a reply saying, mate, I have my weekend planned for once. Don't spoil it. I have the text. Might post it here. She made other plans even though we planned my birthday for weeks, and she was the one who really wanted to do something for it. And then said me wanting her to come to my birthday was spoiling her plans. Spent my birthday on my own. Haven't replied to her since the 5th. Happy belated birthday. Your friend sucks. She told everyone my personal struggles with depression after she told me that I could talk to her without worrying about people finding out. Then made me a villain in the friend group and also stole hundreds of dollars worth of stuff from me and backed out of a lease a week before moving in. Sounds like a great friend. When I realized he had a very fuzzy definition of consent and age of consent, I confronted him about it. In the process, I told him that if he so much as looked crosswise at my daughter, there would be consequences. He looked me dead in the eye and said, bring it. Freaking Steve. He tried to ride off on his motorcycle after drinking a 12-pack and downing jello shots all night so he could go see his biker buddies. I stopped him. He has a wife and 2 kids, and whoever else he could have possibly killed would have a family too. He proceeded to try to pick a fight with me, call me every name in the book, and then threatened to have his biker buddies come over and teach me a lesson about their brotherhood. Kicked him off my property, had his wife pick him up and told him to never come back again. Any man who would threaten a friend like that and risk abandoning his family to go see his motorcycle club brothers is a douchebag that I don't want in my life. INB4. I don't hate motorcycles or clubs. I ride and build custom bikes, but a club that advocates drinking and riding is a group that I have no respect for. The girl who loved him dearly filled a small notebook with poems and letters and thoughts about how much she loved him. They had their issues, but she was a very nice girl pouring her heart out to him through this cute little book. The bad part is where he pretended to appreciate her gift, and while a group of our friends were at his house, he started telling us about how crazy she is for writing this book, laughing at the things she'd written while reading some of the pages aloud. This was only intended for him, and such a cruel betrayal of trust made us all see what an butthole he is. When he asked me to grab a coffee with him, and then he spent 2 hours berating me because he thought I was trying to steal his girlfriend, another mutual friend, from him. She had been confiding in me about his emotionally manipulative habits and wanted to know my opinion, and I was frank with her. After she broke up with him, he and his family solely blamed me, and after a brief period of harassment he hasn't spoken or acknowledged me since. Good riddance. But the joke is on him because his ex and I are still very good friends. Attitudes like that tend to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. He was about to come back to high school after going to alternative school. He had come to my house because his and my parents were hanging out. He told me don't worry if I don't talk to you at school, and then told me I was his ugliest friend on the same day. I've been so much happier without him. Who the frick says, hey, by the way, you're my ugliest friend? Close friend of mine admitted he was really struggling with depression. I gave him a hug and some reassurances. Our other friend told him to stop being a P and that depression doesn't exist. We'd both been friends with him for about 8 years, but after that we haven't seen him since. I had this friend during freshman year of college who's also my blockmate. We had the same classes and crap, and we got along because he is a funny dude. Then one day, he borrowed my phone because his phone is broken, and he needs to PM someone important. So I lent him my phone, but I forgot about it and only realized a few hours later. He told me he left it in the cafeteria and sure enough, it was gone. It was a cheapo phone, but the way he handled it, he showed no care at all and gave off a vibe of meh sucks to be you I guess. I should have realized at that time but it kept piling up. He started smoking heavily, stopped coming to classes so we had to make up for his part of the group project in order for us to pass. Then, he lost touch with us after that. One day, he came to our apartment because he said he blew all his money on treating his new friends for dinner every time, then his wallet ATM card was stolen by one of those very friends. We were surprised because he was one of the most cheap fricks we have ever met, never treated us to anything, yet we are here to help and we never took advantage of him. We still took pity and he stayed with us for a week. Then he disappeared. Last I heard, he dropped out and went back to his parents. When they decided to ghost me because their girlfriend no longer liked me, girlfriend had been a serial cheater for the better part of 10 years. I helped pick up the pieces every single time. Both had very little regard for humanity, so it's probably for the best. Best friend in high school stole my diary from my secret hiding place, read it, then gave it back to me wrapped as a birthday present, while adding how pathetic I was. He was laughing with buddies about fricking some guy's GF. That she just stayed with him so she could live rent free. Haha, isn't this funny about this unsuspecting schmuck? Once I realized not only is this just plain crappy, but I would never trust this guy around a girl I was seeing. Our friendship was over. This just recently happened. I have a friend whose dog got out of their fenced-in yard and was picked up by the pound. It cost $40 to get him out, but they didn't do it because it's too expensive. They've had this dog for years and he's not worth $40 to you. He's part pit bull, so he was euthanized because they didn't come get him. He was only 4 years old and was a super friendly happy dog. It really bothers me. I didn't know about it until afterwards. If she had told me I would have freaking paid for him to get out. I just don't get it and I've had a hard time even talking her since I found this out. I love that dog and he did not deserve to die. They knew he could get out of the yard yet kept rolling the dice and leaving him out there. Whoa, that's like 200 kinds of freaking evil right there. Was at a pool party at my friend's house who supposedly used to do drugs, but is a clean-cut professional. His older brother is a completely straight by the books conservative Republican. The Mitt Romney type, not the redneck type. They own a beautiful house together. Neither one is married. Anyway, after the party, the older brother found a bag of C in the bathroom. My friend said it was mine. It was not mine, and he knew if his brother knew it was his he'd call the cops. I was never invited over there, and wondered why. A few months later another friend told me what happened. Now a few years later I still get texts and calls inviting me over, but I ignore them. Who needs friends like that? Sounds like he needs his scapegoat back to make him look good. We were celebrating her 24th birthday and went to her club. Me and some people from her work. Before going to the toilet I left her my bag and told her I'd be right back. When I came back the table we had been sitting at was deserted. Half the people were at the bar and half on the dance floor. To keep the table they had left my bag, wallet and phone was missing. Birthday girl's comment, oops, sorry. You may be the only woman in existence that would go to the bathroom without their bag. I have a good group of 4-5 girlfriends. We're all in the same sorority. I guess you could call one of these girls the queen bee, the one who had to constantly remind us she was more successful in life, smarter, prettier, All in these snarky little comments I never really picked up on until a few months ago. Started noticing how loud and rude she was when drinking. Things hit the fan when I realized during one of her drunken rants that she was sharing secrets and confidential stories of our friend group to practically anyone who would listen. I called her out and tried to cut off contact with her. When another girl in the group did the same thing, she finds out Queen Bee had gotten into everyone's phone, but mine, and turned on that location share so she could track us. Girl said that Queen Bee also apparently had notes on her phone detailing when everyone usually went to work, what stores they typically went to. Insane, huh? Had an old roommate not tell me he got laid off from his job for 2 months. Proceeds to bring the mother of his children along with her son and his daughter, and then get upset I mention it's been a little more than a weekend and I want my place back to normal. I let it slide at the time because I thought he was genuinely in a tough spot and trying to do right for his kids while still owing me for 4 months total worth of rent. Purchases a used vehicle, taking on a payment. Finally starts paying rent again for another 3 months before it stops again, and I find out that he's been saving his money so he can move into a place with this girl. They lived together 2 or 3 times before this and he lived there because she put him on the street and I had an extra bedroom. On top of all that, all his responsibility for the bills was freaking $350 a month. After that I just lost all hope and patience for the mother sucker and realized he was just a user. When I told him about my depression and suicidal thoughts, he told me I don't have a reason to be depressed since I have it better than others and I was a P for thinking of suicide. He stopped talking to me once the semester ended since I was giving him free ride home. I hope you are with better, more supportive friends now. I had a whole story lined up, but it's taking too long, so I'll sum it up. Best friend's wife, family friend of mine for years, went on a Vegas trip and got into a screaming match on the strip with her husband because she wanted to go out to clubs while she was there, but no one had planned to do the same and therefore didn't bring the proper attire. Spent $2,500 at Tiffany's to get back at her husband for not doing what she wanted the night before. The last night after my wife and I went back to the hotel room, they came down the hall at 4 AM, screaming at each other the whole time, which then erupted into a fight inside the room that we were sharing. The whole time my friend is saying we leave in 4 hours, we'll talk about it in the morning, and she keeps screaming at him. It then jumps to a new level when he says he'll sleep on the floor, she can have the bed, and she gets up, with her heels on, and kicks him square in the ribs. My friend's a Marine, so instead of saying ouch or anything like that, he gets even more P and asks why would you do that? What the frick is wrong with you? In her embarrassment, she says frick you, I'm getting a flight home. Note, we leave in 4 hours. So she ends up spending another $280 on a direct flight home that's completely unnecessary. Sign we're leaving soon, and leaves the hotel. And then one of the saddest things I had ever heard, at the time, happens when my friend collapses on the bed and starts crying. It actually got a lot worse for him after that, as she cheated on him during one of his deployments, plus a litany of other crap. But sometime before she said he wasn't allowed to hang out with us, we had written her off. He made his girlfriend having a breakdown about himself. OMG, I snapped at her for not killing a spider and now she's freaking out. I'm a terrible person, please comfort me. WTF. Dude, this all on his public Twitter account where his GF could see it. Talk about manipulative. A former co-worker was watching my dog in exchange for using my car for a couple of weeks over Christmas break back in 2008. She was apparently mad that I hadn't called every day to have her put my dog's ear up to the phone so that I could talk to it. Yes, really. She said nothing of this to me, but instead texted me late on New Year's Eve with some BS story that my dog had escaped by digging under the fence and that she had no idea where my dog was. I kept calling her and texting her trying to figure it out, but she went silent until nearly 2 days later when she just texted to say never mind. She came back. I was suspicious and asked her to send me a picture of the hole my dog made, but she refused. Got back to our duty station, got my dog and my keys, stood there while she told me what a terrible dog owner I was, and then never talked to her again. For context, she was in her late 20s or early 30s at the time. No young and immature excuse. A friend lost her job and we were very supportive of her. We gave her software to prepare for a new job and a place to stay when in town, plus listening to hours of complaining. When my husband was laid off, she said, "Well, now you know how I feel." Haven't spoken to her since. Textbook narcissism. Takes, doesn't give, no compassion, makes things about them. Don't need people like that in your life. Worked on a major course project with him, where the roles were strictly divided. There was an electromech, a circuits guy, and a microcontroller programmer. The goal was to make a robot over a couple of months. This guy opts to do electromech and proceeds to do nothing for most of the project, while promising he will work on it tomorrow. When he does complete something, it's invariably crap. For example, instead of building a chassis with actual dimensions using lightweight aluminum struts, he takes a heavy piece of wood from an old table out of the discarded trash pile, screws on 4 wheels and proudly claims that after 6 hours of hard work, we are back on track. I could not convince him that it is unstable and way too heavy for our motor, but he just casually brushes it off. The other guy and I had built a chassis ourselves while still doing our own parts. That was the first of many incidents in the designing build phase. Then, he flaked out on us while we were assembling the robot. Finally, when we are writing our report, he comes up with a pile of drivel trying to justify his design decisions while trying to make it look like he did more work. I had to conclude that this guy wasn't one of those "I can afford to be lazy because I'm smart and work efficiently" type of guys, and was just a lazy guy who mooches off others. When she told me she was tired of her dog and she dropped him off in a neighborhood and drove away, her 2-year-old was in the car with her and watched his puppy get abandoned by his mom. Started to distance myself after that and now we have zero contact. My best friend of 25 years chose H and her filthy junkie of a boyfriend, now husband, over her little boy. I no longer have a dang word to say to her until she starts actively working to fix her crap show of a life. Having gone through H addiction, if she does reach out for help getting her life in order, please support her. Knowing other people wanted me to get better really helped, and even just asking how her day was can do a lot, but stand her ground until then for sure. When he disinvited me to his wedding, it was less than a week away, as best man because they decided they were just going to have family only, yet I saw in photos there were several friends there. Crap hurt, man. I thought we were best buds. When it dawned on me that if he's talking amazingly toxic crap to me about his best friend, wife, and a bunch of other people, he's really not someone who can be fully trusted. And they're talking about you behind your back probably. This is the worst. He tried to have sex with me at a party, where his wife and my husband also were in attendance, but in a different room. I've had to unfriend married friends who come on to me. "You chose to marry a chick, dude, and cheating is cheating. Frick you, extra hate if they have kids." Just the worst kind of people. She wrote a horrifically homophobic and straight up mean thing on a sticky note and left it for her roommate to find. College dorm roommates. They didn't get along all year. Long story. When I learned her roommate's side of the story and heard how upset that made her, I brought it up to my friend and her response was basically, "Good. I'm glad I made her feel like a pile of crap." I haven't spoken to her since. I also have a whole new respect for her roommate, who she made me believe was a total creep, but who is actually a really cool chick. I had a panic attack, which I never had before, though I had had anxiety for forever, so I legitimately thought I was having a heart attack. I told her to take me to the hospital. She told everyone, including friends, parents, and hospital workers, and later found out even our dance teacher, WTF, that I did ecstasy behind her back and was overdosing. Never spoke to that B again. Never even asked me what happened or how I felt, etc. What a C. I'm 20-year-old, throwing party while home from college. Guy shows up very late and very drunk. He drove there. Immediately upon entering the party he starts bragging. "I just got back from this chick's place. Dude, I gotta tell you, man, there is nothing like pregnant pee. It's like it knows it's gonna be out of commission, so it just goes into overdrive." It seems he was sleeping with a pregnant married woman whose husband was on deployment. Look, I'm not a super support our troops type of guy, but there's a line somewhere, and sleeping with a soldier's pregnant wife is crossing it. I should note, this guy wasn't exactly a close friend. I was good friends with his brother. He wasn't nearly as much of a crap. I agree that it's bad, but I'd like to say the wife is a shittier person. When I was going through chemo, not for cancer, and my friend said she couldn't visit me for 8 months, and then later told me she had been at her boyfriend's house, literally walking distance from my house to someone not going through chemotherapy, and then later posing in FB pictures with other chemo patients to show everyone how she is such a good person. Maybe I wasn't photogenic enough when my hair fell out. Had a friend I hadn't seen in several years proceed to brag upon our first reunion in years about how he stole a motorcycle. So I walk up to the gas station and there is an empty R6 idling outside the convenience store, so I jumped on that sucker and rat-bagged the crap out of it all over town. Fricked up the tires, then ditched it in the river. I told him then and there that he was a freaking butthole. I hated people like him and was not going to continue the friendship. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.